there's a lot to unpack with this story, and it's again interesting to see how the narrative against Bernie Sanders is still holding strong, especially by those in the media and entertainment. So what's going on with your story, man?
So in this one, we're not going to play the video because it's literally 10 seconds, and I have it quoted right here.
Go ahead.
So I thought this was an interesting story, very sad. So if you've heard of this little show, it's in a couple seasons here and there, I'm not sure exactly how many, called The Simpsons. Apparently they're still going. They don't seem to have the oomph that they used to, and it shows with this. Because, if anyone has noticed, there be an election that be going on. And
Really?
I've been told by all these blue check marks and these blue no matter who people that the most important thing that we can do is unify together as a party and vote out Trump because he's, I've been told, very bad indeed.
Very
in
bad
fact,
guy.
Extra bad. In fact, a lot of them say he's like Hitler, which, I feel like that might be a bit of an exaggeration. I feel he's more of a Mussolini type himself. Actually, if you look at Mussolini's history, very similar histories.
Well, it didn't end really good for Mussolini, though.
Well, we'll see if that history completes. So
it didn't, folks.
yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah, but literally the way. Yeah, except for him having money, they both had entertainment. Anyway, I'm getting off subject.
Yeah.
So we're talking about The Simpsons. I guess I got them confused. My bad. So The Simpsons decided that in this trying time where unity is needed and all the blue checkmark people yell at Kit and other people, which we'll hear a bit later, about how you're very wrong if you don't agree with us on any and every issue that we bring up, and you're also a number of other pejoratives. But The Simpsons, in this time of unification, decided they needed to maintain that line of thought, and by maintain, I mean, go on Twitter. It's a maintenance act. So Bernie Sanders made a little cameo on The Simpsons on Sunday night, and by little, we're not just referring to the fact that the scene itself was only 10 seconds, which is why I'm not playing the video. So first of all, not giving him any time. So they're really emulating CNN and MSN really quite fantastically. So during the third episode of season 32, titled Now Museum, Now You Don't, Lisa stays home from school to explore the wonders of Western art, which during each family takes on the persona of a famous artist. In one scene, Marge Simpson portrays Frida Kahlo. Is that the one that she did, the painter? Is that who I'm thinking of? Anyway, whatever.
Not an art major.
It doesn't matter. We're
Not an expert in art, folks.
Yeah. We hate capitalists right now. So stating, we hate capitalists right now. A young socialist is being born who will take them down. Mr. Bernie Sanders, I hope he's quick about it. Cut to an already white-haired, wrinkled baby, Bernie Sanders. By the way, if you've seen pictures of Bernie young, not very wrinkled, very actually decent-looking guy. And he says, this is the entire scene, get a cootie shot should not cost you your lunch money. There you go, ha, ha, ha. And if you don't listen to me, listen to the Bernie babies. I wonder what that sounds like. What? Everyone's got goons. And if you see the scene, which you can see in the article, he has two, beefed up babies. I'm not exactly sure how to do it.
They're like the bullies. They're like the bully babies. Yeah.
They're like what's his name? The guy that goes, ha, ha, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
But as a baby, and they have bottles, and it looks like they're going to break them at any moment to stab people. And he goes, what? Everyone's got goons. So literally, this entire episode, in this time where they're trying to unite the party and get everyone together and get young people to vote, they're what do Simpsons do? They go out and say, oh, that Bernie Bros narrative, definitely canon. On top of it, he actually has thugs that he hires to enforce his will. Now, if you were in 2016 and covered 2016 like we did, you would have seen in Nevada where Bernie Sanders supporters are peaceful, they're force-fed alcohol in a closed room, and then the CNN reports that that Bernie people are being violent when they're just being like, hey, you're keeping us in a room for 8 hours and not letting us use the bathroom. Again, blamed on Bernie Sanders. The entire Bernie Bro narrative I hated so much because it was pure identity politics. It was all the way through identity politics, which again, it was, hey, remember, Hillary Clinton, in 2008, when Obama was running, said you got to worry about those Obama boys, those thuggish black Obama boys that are going to do all these things to you. How do you describe those Obama boys? Young black men. 2016 pops around. What does Hillary Clinton do? Does she have, well, maybe we should start from scratch. We should find a new way to attack. No. Obama boys, Bernie bros. What do Bernie bros look like? White, male, young, whatever. And, as Kid has covered a bunch of times, Bernie had the most diverse staff.
70% of his leadership was women.
Had some issues with his how he ran his campaign, in my opinion. But the point made here is that The Simpsons, the cartoon that legitimized and brought Fox News to life, by the way, if there's any one person besides Murdoch you can blame for Fox News being the behemoth it is, it's The Simpsons. So the people that basically created Fox News are now, right before an election, when we're supposed to be together and unite, are all dividing us, like they always do, like they continue to do, with things that are unproven, well, actually easily disproven facts. But remember, they don't like facts, because if you don't agree, you're something else. You don't matter. I really hate that we're so close to the election, and this is what we have to deal with. We have to deal with Simpsons giving Bernie Sanders 10 seconds of time and making it all about him being a violent revolutionary.
So, here's the thing. This is I'm all for being critical, and I'm all for making fun of politicians. I'm all for satire and everything else. But see, the thing was that Bernie Bro narrative. It stayed with a lot of people since 2016, and a lot of vote blue no matter who, blue checkmark people who have a problem with Bernie Sanders still like to run that narrative that it was white males that were being aggressive. It was white males running Bernie Sanders campaigns. It was the Bernie bros that were being aggressive on Twitter and on social media. But no one ever talks about K-Hive or the Biden bros. How about that?
Or the Kamala people?
Yeah, or K-Hive or Amy Klobuchar's supporters or anybody else like that, especially even the Hillary Clinton bots, because no one wants to remember the fact that, you remember the Correct the Record organization that happened under Hillary Clinton,
when they had
where they shut down Bernie Sanders progressive, group pages on Facebook, and they were setting up these pages by saying that there was, I don't want to go too far.
We can't say the exact thing on YouTube, but I'll say it in a way that you understand it. If you didn't remember this happening, Hillary's team, right before the New York primary, went to all of the groups that had hundreds of thousands of Bernie Sanders supporters and organizers that were being used to coordinate get out the vote actions. They joined the groups, shared, let's call it cuties movies, so that everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about, but much more explicit, and then reported the Facebook groups for having cuties movies on it, shut down the entirety of these pages right before the turnout from the election, which of course depressed their get out the vote effort.
Yep.
And no one gets to, and Hillary was just like, oh yeah, it wasn't me, and the media was like, okay, wasn't you.
Yep, and again, it's just it's something that a lot of progressives are going to have to deal with, because the media and entertainment are going to keep running these fake news stories about Bernie Sanders. Look, I'm very critical right now of how Bernie Sanders handled his campaign, but this whole narrative that's being presented towards Bernie Sanders supporters is insulting, because not all of Bernie Sanders supporters were straight white males. It was one of the most diverse campaigns ever in recent memory. It was able to, Bernie Sanders alone in 2016 and in 2020 was able to fill up stadiums of people to tune in.
And birds.
Yeah, and birds too. And was able to also get a lot of people to tune in for his live stream chats as well, be it on Facebook or Twitter or any other platform of social media. Bernie Sanders was able to command that. Biden can never do that. Hillary Clinton can never do that. Pete Buttigieg can never do that. Klobuchar can't do that. Kamala Harris can't do it. And you want to know why? Because none of those politicians are authentic enough. And so corporate media and the entertainment industry and the vote blue no matter who crowd want to smear Bernie Sanders supporters as being these aggressive white males when it's not even the case at all. It's identity politics. And this is the problem that I have with those vote blue no matter who people using identity politics by portraying a group of supporters as something that they're not. It's insulting. And again, which is why I am proudly voting third party. And if that makes me a bad person, I don't care. Kira.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that most of us can agree on is that when the topic of politics comes up, people become passionate and people maybe even become offensive. And, first of all, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, right?
Like, that's sexist. You're saying women should get in the kitchen, Kira.
Right. Well, since I can't possibly be a Bernie bro, then I guess I wouldn't be in that kitchen. But yeah, it's like one of the reasons that I don't personally post political stuff on my personal page, I actually do it through my business a little bit more than I even do in my personal page, is because it takes up a lot of space. People start to get emotional in a lot of ways. And, there's a lot to field when it comes to doing that. So it's like, if you feel attacked because you're talking about politics, you'll probably feel that way from any camp that you are speaking against or who disagrees with you. Here's the thing, and this is kind of bolsters Kit's point. Bernie had more supporters. Not only did he have more supporters, he had more supporters that were willing to go to bat for him, right? And then not in a violent way. People who are willing to say, now, wait a minute, actually, and that's actually more of what, I would always make the joke, that the Bernie bros would be more like, well, actually, on like every single thread. And it was, it was a rarity for me to really even see anything that was like truly insulting outside of the realm of what you see in regular political banter. So again, it's either A, if you're such a pansy that you can't deal with what it takes to talk about politics, then don't talk about politics in a public forum. But really what I think it was we need to shoot these people down. We need to shoot this candidate down. How do we do that? Oh, we pigeonholed them as these. I mean, at one time I heard Bernie supporters being called brown shirts. Like, how extremely insulting and way off base is that? When I don't know the numbers on it, but I would almost guarantee that if you took a poll of Bernie Sanders supporters, the large majority of them were probably more pacifist and against war and violence than any other of the Democratic supporters that were up for the primaries. And so it's just, it completely off base and, completely to save their own sensitive skin.
But here's the other thing. Let me give it a little light to this subject. So again, I really care about systems and how they work, and I've always seen in history that when you see these sort of attacks, this sort of attack that's just so cringeworthy and angry, because it's like you can easily argue logically, factually, this thing away in like 2 seconds, 3 seconds flat. This is what groups do when they're losing power, because when it used to be, what is that 4 steps of whatever that Gandhi talked about, or whoever it was? It's that sort of a thing, that when they sort of just kind of bring in this new way of thinking, like Reagan's around that time. It's, we now have the facts on our side, even though they didn't. We now have the facts on our side, and the country's like, yep, they have the facts on their side. We should definitely do trickle-down economics. That's definitely working, because Reagan showed us it worked. There's that factual side to it. It doesn't matter if it's factual or not. The point is people perceive it to be so. Then you get to the point where it's, well, we're in power. Everyone agrees with us. You can take your little arguments about socialism and healthcare and just screw off. Bring your goons with you. And then it goes to the next step, which is, don't listen to him, la, 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 they're bad people, they're brown shirts, they're this pejorative here, and then we're going to use this thing and just attack you with it so that people don't take you seriously because we've told them, and they trust us more than you, which we're leveraging, that you're a bad person. Therefore, when that brown shirt comment was made, I remember people calling me a brown shirt, which is highly ironic.
Yeah,
giving
which Daniel, look, I don't want to tell you what to do because my friend,
Yeah.
I always believe in freedom, but you, my friend, because I know you very personally, will never ever be able to fit the qualifications to be a
I'm
brown
sort
shirt.
of exempt.
You can't.
I mean,
you can't be.
I've said to it's amazing how many people I've had to say, "Oh yeah, I'll tell that to my dead grandparents." And well, they didn't go through the Holocaust, but they went through the programs, which is basically the Russian version. So, it's the point is like exactly what Kira's saying, that right now this sort of level that we're at is they're losing power, they're losing consensus. So the only real move that they have to maintain this stuff is don't trust those guys. They're inherently bad, distrustful, dishonest. They use goons to force you to do things. Therefore, listen to us. Don't even hear their argument. That's really the core of what they're trying to do is don't even listen to their arguments. And if you do, don't even take it seriously. It's a lie, I promise you. At some point in time, and I don't know when that's going to happen, but it seems to be happening quick as much as they're trying to hold it back. And I think it really has to do with the amount of people connected to the internet and then people that aren't. My personal take on the breakdown. The next step is when they're going to be openly hostile in a way that they aren't right now. Because right now they're just trying to throw names at us, trying to throw words. It's going to be very different when the country starts taking, like Bernie Sanders was almost taken seriously. He was almost able to override all this stuff that we're talking about, all the stuff that we're dealing with. Almost there. He planted a forest, but he couldn't quite get the rights to the land. I know, it's a terrible example. But Bernie was almost there. If Bernie, I think, was a little tougher, if he had better organization. If there was he had a great turnout to vote. He had a lot of stuff he did really well, but a lot of other stuff he didn't. Yeah. The way that he didn't fight for people, like you did that interview with Matt Orfalea, and how he didn't stand up for his campaign.
Yeah, seriously. Well, what happened to Matt Orfalea was messed up, and I'm still angry about that.
But the point I'm trying to make is the positive note for everyone to take is that what we're seeing is them declining in power in comparison to us. Because the next step when we start getting people in, which is what we're going to keep doing after this election, I am putting a reset on my calendar. Day one after the election is when we get to start again for another 4 years of building up and creating power that represents us, creating correct keys, not the ones that we have right now. At that point in time, in the next 4 years, I really do think that we're going to hit some crossroads within the Democratic Party. They've burned their reputation over the last 8 years, just burned it. And now we can take it back. That's why they're so desperate to stop channels like this from being heard. Why they, every time, like Jimmy Dore, they hate Jimmy Dore for the same reason. They hate people that make sense from this perspective because we're right.
And, here's something else, too. And I want to give a shout-out to Jimmy Dore. Going to give a shout-out to somebody from Chicago, because even though he's in California, he's a Chicago native. And also shout-out to Nico House, too, because at least they're going on conservative or Republican shows like Fox News or any other conservative outlet. At least they're speaking out the issues that are happening. And here, the thing is, the Democratic Party, the neoliberal establishment, the corporate media, entertainment industry, they did this already. They helped create this hostile environment because they want to push this neoliberal agenda down our throats. And the thing is, the corporations have had their time. And so here's the thing, which nobody talks about, is that if there are conservative and Republican voters that agree about getting money out of politics, that agree on Medicare for all. No one talks about that. Shocking. Even though there's a lot of hush-hush about it. There's no one talking about ending regime change wars, like how Tulsi Gabbard was able to build a very good coalition to do so. There's no one talking about how a lot of voters, meaning conservative, liberal, socialist, libertarian, agree about a universal basic income. I know it sounds controversial that the average working class person, people, families of different political beliefs can agree on these issues. But the entertainment industry, the corporate media, and the political establishment want to hold their power and keep us divided because they think it works for them, because it's going to control their narrative. Here's the real truth. Ignore the establishment. The establishment has lost the narrative. The establishment is trying desperately to hang on to power. And yes, is there a possibility for Biden to win? Yeah, but it's their last hurrah, because then guess what, blue checkmark people? Your boy Biden is in power. What is he doing? Is he changing anything? And people ask ourselves how we got Trump or why more people are voting third party. I am voting third party. And I have to say this. I'm so happy I tweeted that out. It was a big relief off my chest. And I'll tell you why. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback about, hey, vote third party. Vote third party. You want to know why? People are tired of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party because they're owned by corporations. And so if the media wants to paint Bernie Sanders supporters as the Bernie bro narrative, fine. But it just shows how ignorant they are and how blind they are to the inevitable change that is around the corner.